Today is July 6, 2024. We're here to interview David Zeilik, who is a survivor of the Holocaust. The interviewer is Esther Ender, and the videographer is Robert Wilson. We're doing this interview under the auspices of the USC Shoah Foundation, and the video will be deposited in their collection and the collection of the Montreal Holocaust Museum. The video will be done in English.
And recording.
So, good morning, David.
Good morning.
Thank you for agreeing to doing this interview. I'm really happy because we were talking about it years ago and then we couldn't do it. So it's great we can do it finally.
I am happy finally that came a final and you're here and you're doing the job which really you wanted.
So my first question is if you could tell me your first name and your last name and also spell your last name.
My first name is David, which is easy to, everybody knows this name. And the family name is Zeilik, Z-E-I-L-I-G.
Could you tell me where?
Sorry.
Yes?
Where we're going to turn?
Okay, could you just spell your name again because we had the air conditioning on, which was a little loud.
Okay. The family name is Zeilik, which will spell Z-E-I-L-I-G, how George.
Could you tell me where you were born?
I was born on 9th of January, 1933.
And where?
In a village near Faltichen called Boroaya.
Could you spell that for me, please?
B-O-A-I-R-E-A.
Do you
Bring
need
me
some
a
water?
paper, please. Sorry.
That's okay. And could you also spell me the name of the town, Falticenyi?
F-A with a sign at the top of A, which is becoming A, L, T, I, C, E, N, I.
Thank you very much. So at first, I would like to ask you a little bit about your grandparents. What do you know about the parents of your father, so the paternal grandparents?
Of my father, I don't know anything. Information to give, I don't know.
How come that you don't know anything about those grandparents?
My grandparents of my mother, they were very old. We were in Boroaya, and they were in Faltichen. And I came only once for a visit. My mother came to her parents, and I saw them once. That's it in my life. I didn't have no connection and no relation with them, and I don't know anything, just to remember him, that he was old with a long beard. That's it. I can tell you about him.
Do you know what happened to them during the war?
During the war, nothing. No, nothing I know about it. Nothing happened. And I don't know nothing specifically to tell you what they did, because I wasn't there, and nothing happened really.
Do you know, because I'm just running a little ahead, but I know that you had to move to Falticeni in 1938.
Yes.
That's when you met them, I think, your grandparents, no, in 1938.
1938 could be then, yes.
So
I was just 5 years old, what do I
Exactly.
remember?
that's what you said, that you met them when you were 5, but you were living in the same town as they. So how come that you didn't see them? Were they still alive after 1938?
Because we were in Boraya, it's like here, Sherbrooke, and the city of Sherbrooke, and Montreal was a different time to go, and we didn't came to see them. They were their life. My parents, they have their life, and I didn't need them. We
But
did-
where did they live, these grandparents? In what town?
in Falticeni.
Yeah, and your family had to move to Falticeni in 1938, right? Into the same town.
From
where-
Boraya,
Yeah,
we moved to Falticeni.
yeah. And were they still alive? Were your grandparents still alive at the time when you had to move to Falticeni?
I cannot tell you
You can't-
exactly.
That's okay. It's okay. Do you know how religious they were? Do you know how religious they were? How religious were your grandparents?
How
Religious. How
Jewish.
how Jewish were your grandparents? What did they keep of religion? Your grandparents.
they keep I would say very religious life. He was very known in the Jewish religion, and was keeping the Jewish faith honestly and real. We did keep, I would say, religious way. We kept, we are Jewish, that's it. And my mother used to keep more the faith. For example, Saturday, when I had to make some food, she wouldn't, there was a stove with wood, and she need to warm up. She wouldn't make with to warm the stove. She used to go on the front to look for a girl to come in and to tell her to open the stove. Not, she wouldn't do it. She says it's not allowed for us to open the light. And she used to do, but us kids, we did keep these things. We make our own thing. We did keep honestly Jewish religious way. We knew that we were Jewish, but that's it. Nothing specifically to the Jewish faith that we kept. We go to the synagogue Saturdays, and then when I was 13, I was learn the books which was necessary to, when the rabbi will talk with me, I would know which page to open and to read in Hebrew. This which I knew about more of the religion than my mother did. My mother, every month was a day of which she used to take a book, a Jewish book, and I remember to sit here near the window for about 1 hour and then read the graphics, which was, she thought that was necessary to be written, to be read.
That was at Rosh Chodesh every month, right?
Rosh Chodesh, yes.
In what language did she read her book? What language did she read, in Hebrew or in Yiddish? Her little prayer book that she read at Rosh Chodesh, was it in Hebrew or in Yiddish?
It was Hebrew words, but I don't remember exactly. Not Yiddish, was Hebrew, but she didn't know the language, but she knew how to read it.
And what you described before, when you were 13, you're talking about your bar mitzvah. You had a bar mitzvah at 13.
Yes, yes.
Where was it, your bar
Yes.
mitzvah?
This was about 12 and a half. My mother took a guy which used to cut the chickens, how's called?
The shoichet.
A shehet, and to come and to teach me the graphics which was necessary to say when you have the bar mitzvah.
Where was your bar mitzvah?
Bar mitzvah was near me to a rabbi house, which was also a room, like a
Like a prayer house?
which was people coming for prayers.
And who was there at your bar mitzvah?
Was my mother and maybe my sister, my brother, but I cannot precisely tell you exactly which one was there. I don't remember.
And you had to read a parasha, you had to give a talk?
Yes, I knew everything, how to read what the rabbi told me to read.
Do you know who offered you the talis? Because that's when Jewish boys get their talis, their talits,
Yes.
at bar mitzvah.
Yes,
Who gave
the
it
rabbi,
to you?
rabbi gave me.
Okay. And since we're talking about religion, I'll ask you a question. So you went to the synagogue every Shabbat, every Saturday?
Yes,
With whom? Who did you go with?
with the kids.
Did your sisters and brother go?
No, only me.
Did your family have a Shabbat dinner, a Friday night dinner? Did your mother cook for Friday night?
Yes, it was like 2 or 5, I don't remember exactly, lamps like that, I don't know.
Candles.
candles. And she used to be very honestly, not to miss it, to light the candles. Friday night was at the edge of the table was two challahs covered with a cloth, a Jewish written cloth, and she used to kept honestly the Jewish faith.
What kind of meal did you eat on Friday nights? Was there
Chicken soup. With my mother used to make a very good chicken soup. It was a salad, a soup with things,
Matzah ball?
noodles, matzah ball, and meat. This was the supper. Was a very nice arranged supper, which my mother used to love to do it.
And what was the typical Shabbat meal on Saturday, the one she needed to heat up? What was the typical meal you ate on Saturday? You mentioned that she had to get a non-Jew, a goy, to heat up the meal. What was that usually?
Well, it was normal food, meat, chicken.
Was there not a special Saturday meal?
No.
No dish? No?
No. Just this was the special one, chicken soup. The soup with the chicken was considered the meal of Friday night.
Did she do Havdalah Saturday night? Did she do Havdalah, when the Shabbat goes out? The Havdalah ceremony, did she do that?
No.
And so she didn't light a fire, so she didn't work ever on Shabbat?
No.
So what did she do? What did she do and what did you do Shabbat afternoons? Typically.
With the kids, I don't know, nothing specifically Jewishness, going with the kids out.
How about high holidays? Did you go to the synagogue on high holidays?
Yes, sure.
Your mother as well?
Yes. We specifically high holidays we kept 100% the way how supposed to be done.
Everybody fasted on Yom Kippur?
Yes, Yom Kippur, sure. We
How
fast.
about Pesach? Did your family keep Pesach?
Sure.
No chametz?
No. She had all the dishes was in the attic, and we brought all the dishes, which was different, the same kind of dishes, but was specifically for Pesach. And some dishes she used to do from during the day, which she didn't have it in the attic. She used to do from the regular one, and stupid, but I have to tell. She used to send me to look for white stones. She used to put in the water the white stones, and to make the dishes which she needed in this water. And she become these dishes become good for Pesach.
Did she boil the water with the stones in it? Did
Yes,
she
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So yeah.
Yes, I don't know. This was her way, and I had to accept what she thought that has to be done.
What was the typical Seder night meal? What typical dishes did you have?
Always nothing different than other time. Chicken soup. This was the most classical meal which was used on holidays. Chicken soup. Nothing else. And other times it used to be all kind of how it's called, made meat with all kind of vegetables, specifically meat, which you used to have at other time than specifically a holiday day.
Who did your family invite for Seder night? Who was there on Seder night?
Oh, nobody. No, nobody.
Just you, your mother, and your siblings.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go back because we just jumped into religion, but I wanna hear about your parents. So could you tell me your father's name?
Meir Zeilik.
How do you spell Meir?
Meier, Meir.
Do you know where he was born? In what town or village?
I would say, no, I don't know exactly.
And what year? The year?
And 1895.
1895. What did he do for a living, your father?
And about 1933, 32, 31, something, he bought a land and he built a house, a big house, and the front was considered, he made a store, and the back he made a baker with a big, like you'll see, a bakery, a big place with put inside the trees oven, and there upstairs of this place used to have a big place where you used to make bread, and he was a baker, and he make all kind of cakes and bread, and we have a servant with a horse, and this he went to all the towns around, all the villages around our village to sell the bread. And at the front we have a grocery store, which my mother was responsible for it. And I remember I used to go with my father and the Felticen to buy products to have for the store.
What kind of products did your store sell? What did your mother, your parents sell in the store, in the grocery store?
All kind of things in the store. which you go now in a store, you see what you want to buy. These things, she had it, where people ask about things. She used to prepare to have these products. Besides bread, she had anything which was necessary for a family to buy all kind of pasta and oil and vinegar, this kind of things which our family needs in their home, and used to prepare to have it at the store. It was a big store.
Did you have any employees in the store? Did your parents have employees in the store, or it was just your mother?
Only my mother. My mother and my sister eventually, once in a while, something.
When you went to Falticeni to pick up food products with your father, how did you go? On the horse and buggy?
Yes, she had a carriage with a horse, and we got with the carriage and the horse.
That was the same carriage that the servant used to go around the villages selling the bread that your father baked?
Yes. And this was the way how people was traveling from my village to Falticeni, which was considered a big city with everything which a family needed. Used to go and was all kind of stores with drink, with wine, with water, with what was necessary. You find in this city. This was the life at this time.
How often did your father go to buy products in Falticeni? How often did he have to go to buy supplies for the store?
How old?
How often did he go? Once a month, once a week?
Maybe once a week.
The servant did...
And she used to take me, not all the time, once in a while. I said, Dad, I want to go also. And she took me also with him and let me to keep the things of the horse.
The reins.
And the ring, and me to drive. I was about 7, 8 years old, something like that. It was fun.
Did he have anybody helping him in the bakery to make bread and bake bread, or did he do it alone?
No, alone.
So what time did he have to...
Was healthy, was a healthy man. Very.
What time did he get up in the night to start baking bread?
Oh, I don't know. He very early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
You told that they lived in Boraya. Can you tell? You said it's a little village. How can you describe this little village that you grew up in, Boraya?
Was a village, a city. With I went the first grade. I was there. Was school. Was other Jewish people. They have all of them. They have stores. Was 5 friends. We consider already everyone. We meet once in a while. They were friends, and they have stores. One had also a store, not a restaurant, which was selling wine.
A wine store?
wine store. Other ones have stores like we had. And this was in different corners of the city, of the village. Was doctors, was schools, normal place.
How many Jews lived in the city, or what percentage of the population was Jewish there?
Jewish, we had, we were 5 or 6 families.
That's all?
That's all.
And everybody else was what, Romanian? The others were...
Romanian, yes, and Jewish. Between them, they were speaking Jewish.
But you say that in the village there was only 5 or 6 Jewish families.
Yes, and they meet once in a while, and they spoke Romanian and Jewish.
Did these 5, 6 families live in the same area in Boraya?
I would say the same area, the different corners of the city was quite big. Say like I would say like say $1 or more. Once was in this street, one was 2 miles away in another street. Other one was another 2 miles in other street. One family was not far from my family, just across the street, about 300 meters across the street.
Who were your neighbors, your family's neighbors in Boraya? Who were the neighbors?
Neighbors was Christians. You talk about really
like on
neighbors.
Your street, you know, across.
Only one Jewish store was about 300 meters from our place. Other one was 2 kilometers. Other one was 200, 300 meters near this one. Another street, and
but I am talking about your street where you were growing up in Boraya. Who were the other inhabitants of that street?
Inhabitants was Christian people, and only one Jewish called Kohlenberg was 300 meters across the street. He and his wife, they have a store.
And everybody else was Christian. And how was your relationship, your family's relationship with the Christian neighbors?
Quite good.
Did they
normally.
Did they have any Christian friends, your family?
Not particular friends, just knowing people talking, coming with Mr. George or Mr. Johan. They were friends, sort of. Not close friends, but normally.
Would they invite them into your house, or would you be invited into their house?
No, not such kind of friendship. Just when you see him in the street, happen that they stop and they talk a few words, but nothing really close friendship.
Did you play with the Christian kids in the street? Like kids your age?
Yes. I was in grade 1, was a little little place with very little water crossing. And I and a friend, we went there. We undress and we play in the water. And I came home, and my mother looked at me. She saw that my shirt was the other way around. Says, you went to the water. I say, yes. Then she told to my father and took me, put me on his this, took out his belt and beat me.
Why?
Because I was in the water, which not supposed to go. Like a child, 6 years old, I was a great one. To go in the water alone could happen something. I should go. And they did accept it. We met many times, but together with the horse, and she put me in the horse and the water, and other kind of water. Was 2 kinds of water. A big one, which we went with my father, and this little one, which was just like that, a few, maybe 10 centimeters of water, crossing very little water, crossing through there. And there I was in the water with this other boy. And there she did accept even there me to go. And she beat me.
Let me ask you, what was your mother's name?
My name Anna Nehama. Real name and the papers was Nehama, but the friends call her Anna.
And her maiden name?
Davidescu.
How do you spell that?
Davidescu.
Where was she born? What town?
In the Felticeni.
And do you know what year? What year she was born in?
And you have in a place, but what I know is 1900. But you show me once in 1898, which is not true.
Your grandson showed you a paper, I see.
Yes.
But you think it was 1900.
1900.
Do you know anything about her schooling?
She passed away in 91.
91. Do you know anything about her schooling? What kind of education she had? What kind of education your mother had? Do you know anything about it?
For 4 years. This was at this time. The primary school was 4 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, and finish with the school. After that came elementary school, and
Later, yeah.
30, 40, something like that. Came elementary school, and when I came was lycée. Was Romania was French adopted.
Yes,
And
they were very francophone.
French
yeah.
was the second language of some people, more which were educated, knew French. We started, me also, to learn French. And we need French. And people was talking between them Romanian.
Yeah. You mentioned that she came from a religious family, and we talked about the things she observed, but I didn't ask you, did she have a kosher household? Was your household kosher? when you were growing up?
Myself or my mother?
Your mother.
My mother was very, very kosher because her father was a very religious person with long hair, and he was very religious. And they were three sisters. I will show you once if you want. The brother had when they came to from Poland, one remained in Felticien, my grandfather. One brother went to England. And there, after many years, he married, but he couldn't have kids. And he asked the brother to send him a daughter.
Your grandfather, his brother asked your grandfather to send one of his daughters.
Yes.
Okay.
And was one of my sisters, the middle one, said, I am going.
Your mother's, one of your mother's sisters.
My mother's sister went to England. And then after years, I don't know really what happened, she married, had three daughters, one boy. And we keep in touch a little bit. And one boy went to live in Australia, in Sydney. And but I don't know them.
So you, yeah.
Presuming?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
my sister had had two girls, and he asked for a girl to send him, and one of them, the middle one, I will show you the picture. She says, I am going. And she went to England.
Do you know
and
her
she
name?
was living there.
What was the name of that sister, your mother's sister?
That doesn't come.
That's not Rebecca, because you said your mother had a sister called Rebecca.
Rebecca.
But that's not the one who went to England, right?
No.
No, okay.
Rebecca was a patronyms. And I forgot the name. And but I wanted to say.
No, you mentioned that you went to England. So your mother had two sisters, right?
Yes,
they were three
one,
girls.
Yes, went to, like I said,
To England,
to
yeah.
England. And when I came, I left Israel, happened that she came to Israel. And I have a picture with her, with my mother, and other cousin happened to be in our place and took a picture, all of us.
I see. Do you know how your parents met? Do you know how your father and your mother met?
No,
No.
I don't know.
And do you know what year they got married?
No.
No. Okay.
Had to be around 1922, 21, because one of my sisters was born in 1923.
Exactly.
One sister born in 1923. Other sister no, a sister, a brother in 1926, a sister in 29, and I was born in 1933.
And what are their names? What was the name of your oldest sister?
Dorica,
Dorica, and then the brother?
the brother Victor, and the other Lisa.
Okay. What was I going to ask? Yes. What language did your parents speak to each other?
Romanian.
Romanian. Did they also speak Yiddish?
No. My sister, the older sister, knew some. I would say she spoke Yiddish.
And your parents knew Yiddish? Did your parents know Yiddish?
Yeah.
But they didn't use it
My
with each other.
mother used to be very, very religious Jewish. She was born in a very religious house, and she started more or less to keep it.
And with her parents, your mother, she spoke Yiddish? She grew up in a Yiddish household? Yiddish
Yes,
speak-
yes.
But then with her husband...
With her friends, she spoke Yiddish. And from their meetings, I used to listen and to know the language. I speak, I understand perfect, but I cannot speak properly. I can speak, but not good.
I see.
I understand the language, but not like my mother used to.
I wanted to ask you a few more things about Boraya. One of the things I wanted to ask you, in your neighborhood, what kind of houses were there? Were they one-story houses, two-story houses? What did they look like?
One-story houses, small houses.
With gardens? Were there gardens around the houses?
Yes. Across the street we had a richer. They have a very big house with a big garden, and I used to go. Had a huge tree with nuts, and was on the floor was nuts, and I used to take the nuts and clean it because it was green cover, and my hand was full, was green, not green, brown.
Walnuts? Was it walnuts?
Walnuts, yes. And this was, Boraya was a city, not a city, a village, normal people. Everyone did what he could, working in the land. They have big lands, and they grow things in the land, and a lot to go in the city and to sell the product of their land. They went at the city to sell.
So they were farmers. It was a farming village.
Farmers.
Were the roads, what were the roads? Dirt roads, or was there any pavement on the roads?
No pavement.
No pavement.
Was a normal city. Put some throw little stones like that, but really nothing like a city.
How about running water? Was there water in the city, or did people use a well?
What?
Was there running water in the city, water pipes, or did people have a well?
I didn't get exactly what you
You know,
mean.
the running water, was there water in the houses? You opened the tap, or did you have to go out and get water from a well?
Go water from the well. Wasn't in the city to go in the kitchen and to make water. Was not far from there. A big
Well?
well, and I remember one of the neighbors fell in the water, in the well. And lucky that she did, they took them out. And but was a well where I used to go to bring a
A pail
pail of water.
whose task was in your family? Whose task was it to bring water to the house? In your family, who was the person who brought the water to the house to cook, to clean?
Almost my mother. I once in a while I used to take some in a pail, but not really necessary for washing or for something more quantities of water. Used to go my mother.
Your mother. What did your family use for lights, to have light in the house at night?
A lamp.
Electricity? Was there electricity or an
with,
oil lamp?
With gas. You light the lamp, and it has a house called.
Like a shade, you put it
Yes,
on? Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And this like that was not everybody.
So there was no electricity in the village.
No.
How did you keep, when your mother cooked or when you had produce or meat, how did you keep it fresh or cold? What did you use? I presume you didn't have a fridge because there was no electricity. So how could your family keep things cold?
And the ground was called a beach, and there at the end of the house we had a room with a cover. Used to open the cover, used to have a scale going at the beach with the food, keeping the food cold.
So it was in the ground.
Was very cold there on the ground, and this was the way how we kept cold.
Did your mother grow any vegetables in the garden? Did she have a vegetable garden?
Yes.
So what did she grow? What kind of vegetables?
Not really very big to have what to eat properly. This used to go on the farmers. I forgot how it's called, this area where the farmers used to come and to sell their products, and was little stores also there. And there she used to go once in a week, Friday or Thursday for Friday morning, used to go to buy things necessary for her for Friday to make the food.
Where did she get the kosher meat? Like the kosher chicken?
This was in Fălticeni.
No, but when you lived in Boraia, she was kosher. Where did she get the chicken?
She used to go in Fălticeni to cut the chicken and to buy kosher food.
So she would go to the shoichet in Fălticeni. She would go to the shoichet to kill the chicken. She would take live chickens to the shoichet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did she have, like, did you have chickens at home? Did she?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you ate your own chicken, and she took it to the shoichet to have cut. Mm-hmm. Was there a synagogue or a prayer house in Boraia? Was there a synagogue or a prayer house in Boraia for the Jewish families?
No. The holidays was in our house because it was bigger, and there was a room in the back which all the Jewish people of age to make a prayer. They came to us, and they did the Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. They did there.
But there was
and
no
our,
rabbi.
and our house.
There was no rabbi in the village.
Not rabbi, but some people they knew well the religious.
Of course. When did you leave Boraya? In what year did you leave Boraya?
We leave Boraya 1938.
And why
The
did you
Ge-
have to leave?
The Germans came already. The part of the some extra Germans went to the war, which really was in 1938 almost was near Stalingrad, a big city. Germans said if we succeed to take this city, we win the war.
No, but that was in 1943. But you said you had to...
43 end. Yes.
Yeah, but we're talking about when you moved from the village of Boraya to Falticheng. What year and why?
Because the Germans came and they said that the Jewish should be in Christian, specifically Christian places like villages. They have to move in the big cities, and they oblige us to move in Falticheng.
So then I would say it was probably more in 1940 or 41, when the war was already underway.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. So you moved to Falticheng. Where did you move? What house?
We, our house which we moved was the parents. My mother's parents' house was a big house, was so big the land that was a house on the main street and one house on the second street in the back, which during the war, we went at the back, almost at the end, we went at the back street. Then, when like I said, the Germans came, they obliged us to move from the city, to move from the village, we have to move in the city. We obliged us to move. And in 1938, we moved.
Later than 38. There were no Germans in Romania in 38.
The end of 38, beginning of 40, I cannot tell you exactly.
Yeah, I would say maybe 40,
around
yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And we move in the city, and the back street, but wasn't to make a living. My mother was very good heart, good head for business, and she looked for a house in the other street, in the business street, and she find a house where used to be a store. And we moved in this house. And then, like I said before, that she went to another city to learn how to make soap, to have some money to make a living, because my father wasn't there, was in concentration labor, and then my mother went to another city with a friend, which is recommended somebody, another city, and she went there for 3 days, and she learned how to make soap for washing. And then in the room where was an empty room there. She put together all the necessary things, had many things to put together to be able to obtain soap to be sold, to cut the different shapes with a stamp. She had everything put together, and she made soap with stamp, nice cut. We had how to do it, and then the store where we moved, was a very commercial street, and peasants used to come from the villages and the center of the city to the stores, and my mother used to call them, you put together, knowing that she has soap. And people used to come to buy from my mother soap, and also a store where my mother used to send soap to their store, and she had money, and we had a good living.
But that was was that after the war?
This was between war and after the war. The 1938, 40, 44, 44.
So she did this soap business during the war as well?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how she
But
made
nobody knew. It was very, very secretly.
So during the war, where did she sell the soap? How did she sell the soap? During the war? To the peasants. Used to live in a village, and she knew all the city, all the village, and one to the other, and told them, you need soap, you go there. She lives there, and this and that, and she used to sell soap there. Then when we moved in the commercial street. After the war?
After the war, in 1944, she knew already a lot of people came, and she bought soap, and already she bought dishes, because everything during the war was broken for the dishes for the peasants. And she came, she had there a big area full of dishes, not dishes like you have, like I have, was different kind of dishes made by the peasants. And she used to make a good living.
Now let's go back to the war when you moved to Falticeni. What do you remember? I know you were a child, but what do you remember of the different anti-Jewish laws? Because there were things that Jews could not do during the war. What are your memories? During the war, what you as Jews were not allowed to do?
The Jewish...
Like during the war, there were laws that forbade Jews to do certain things. Do you remember what these were?
Do I remember specifically law?
Yeah, that like in your life, what is it that, how did it change with all these laws? Then I'll ask.
I don't remember exactly perfectly what.
Do you remember curfew? Curfew, that as Jews you couldn't go out after a certain time or before a certain time. You couldn't leave your house.
And when we moved to Falticeni, then all the Jewish could go everywhere on the stores. We had here yellow how it's called
Star?
sign that we are Jewish, and was in the city there, not far from us, was a captain, a Romanian captain, and he had a soldier, was his servant, and he has a child about 6 years old, looking for Jewish boys to beat them. He took the soldier with him to keep the boys, like me, I was 11, 12, and he was 16. He beat me because he was keeping not to respond. And this was the time which we had to leave. And my mother used to go Friday or Saturday, I don't remember, night to not far from us, about 300-400 meters, to a lady which had a radio, and she used to listen to the radio the situation of the war, and then coming home, and then she told us that the German was beaten in Stalingrad. Stalingrad was considered for the German a very important area and time and a place to capture, that they considered the war win by then. But the Russian succeed to throw them out, and it's meaning that they consider the war lost, and they start to retire. The war was lost by the German, and they start to retire and pass through our city. And then before
Wait, you were telling...
not to be in problems with the army, the city decided us to move another city.
Wait, you're running ahead. You were telling me the story of your mother going to the neighbor to listen to the radio, and what happened to them? You didn't finish that story. When your mother went to the neighbor to listen to the news, what happened?
Some lady saw people going, and she called the police and said, I don't know what is going on there. A lot of people is going. And the police came, and they find there 4 or 5 ladies listen to the radio. And there was a situation which radio was to find out about the situation of the war, of the Germans, what they were doing in Russia. And then the police took all the people, and happened that one of the little boys was my age. He was sick, and I don't know why he passed away, the little boy. And they took the parents and sent them to Auschwitz. And other people, they make a trial, and my mother was 3 months sent to a prison in the city. And my mother was 3 months in the city. And my sister was around 18, 19 years old, the bigger sister, and she had to listen, to try to find how to feed us. And she succeeded. She with friends, with this, she find everything necessary to have what to eat. I used to, one day we didn't have anything. I used to go myself. I was 6, 7 years old, go on a tree, taking some plums and give it, this was to my mother, we didn't have. And I give her the plums, and she makes a compote, something there, and we have what to eat. So look for some yellow
Corn? Corn?
corn, yes, make a mamaliga, and used to have what to eat. Was very, very difficult and very hard for her to find the necessary things to keep us alive.
Did the Jewish community help your family during the war?
Family, not
No, the
with
Jewish
money,
community,
with,
the Jewish community in Falticeni.
Yes.
Did they help your family? Did they help your mother to feed her children?
help to eventually to find what is necessary for food, but not with money or something. My sister used to. I told you about the soap.
Yes.
Yes, this they start to have a lot of money, and we have everything.
But that's after the war. My question is, how did you eat during the war? What the Jewish community?
Was very, very difficult. Don't ask me. I don't.
But the Jewish community had a soup kitchen. I know that. Did you go to that soup kitchen?
What?
The Jewish community in Falticeni had a soup kitchen during the war.
Yes,
Did you go
yes,
there?
yes, they have, and they used to give to poor people to bring once a day a soup. And the rest you had to manage yourself.
So you also had soup from the soup kitchen?
Yes, yes.
You mentioned the yellow star, that you had a yellow star, and you remember it was a star here, not a band on your arm?
I cannot tell you exactly.
Because I read star and I read
know
band.
that we have a yellow star here, but in the hand maybe, but I don't remember.
Do you remember how did it make you feel when you had to put on the yellow star? How did you feel? You were a little boy.
Listen, you have to feel secure, necessary, because like I told you, was a little boy, used to look for the Jewish boys which they have a star, take them, and with the soldier keep the boys, and he beat them. And I was beaten also. And when I finished the war, I got him, and I beat him.
Have you heard, I read that there was a so-called greenhouse in Falticeni. I wonder if you have heard about that, a greenhouse in Falticeni. Have you heard about
Jewish?
Green, like the color green, a greenhouse in Falticeni during the war? Have you heard about that?
Green?
Greenhouse.
No.
No, you haven't heard about it. You were a boy, so I mean, you were young, so I'm not surprised. What other anti-Semitic incidents do you remember during the war? There was this boy who beat you up. What else did you experience, anti-Semitism?
Was that my mother was in the prison for 3 months.
Yeah, but what else?
Yes,
Anything else?
Was just I remember nothing to do with the happened a story which I happened to be there. Was coming a German officer, a very tall guy, and was a Russian Mongolian, was very short guy, and he came a person, and he saw on his hand a watch, and he grabbed him, and he wanted the watch from this guy, and the German didn't like it what he saw, that he grabbed this guy to steal his watch. Then he pushed him on the ground, and with feet, he sent him about 20 feet away, the soldier, because he did do the thing which he thought that not supposed to do. And this was with and happened many things, which I cannot remember exactly things, but to feel Jewish in the area at the time wasn't easy. It was a hard time not to be caught, and you were missing for food. Was difficult to prepare food for the family, and was a very hard period of time.
When you had to move to Falticeni, was your father still with you, with the family?
My father, came, was shot by
but wait,
soldiers.
that's why
I
he
want
came
to
back.
tell you. And he came home, was okay. Then he made himself a carriage, and he bought a horse, and he make some deliveries for the people which he needs to go from one place to the other place. And also we had a chance at the end of the war to came, like I said, the order to move from Falticeni. We moved to Suceava, other city, and my father had a horse and a carriage and moved us to Suceava. And Suceava happened almost at the same time. The people from Suceava, because Suceava and Falticeni is not that far, about 20 kilometers, and the soldiers had to pass, and they have to move another city. And all the cities of the Suceava, which the management thought that it's easier to move with this city, which already the other people move from there, and was empty houses. And my father found a house, and we have where to live. And the autumn of 48, already the war was finished.
44?
And we could move back. And we moved back, and our house already completely was destroyed. And my mother looked for a house because she liked to make a store. She went to another street, which was a commercial street, which was coming peasants on the street and to go on down to go to the stores, come through our front door, which my mother thought here is good to make a store. And already some people knew from other villages, from other peasants, knew that my mother had soap and used to come, and they look also for dishes. And my mother went to another city to a place where was a factory of dishes, and she bought to this owner, brought already every weeks, every 2 weeks, they brought a full carriage with dishes. And my mother used to have what to sell. And she had already money, and she made other kind of, we went with my father and the Falticene to buy products, and we had what to sell. And meantime, he got a cold, and he was 50 years old, and we did have doctors, just one doctor, an old one, which he did know nothing about too much how to treat the people, and he passed away. And my mother continued to have in the store, and she made good money, and we have a good living. And I was going already finish the primary school in 1952. I went to the primary school. No, then wasn't primary school yet. Was lycée. Was like a French. Was lycée. Was a high school of 8 years, starting from grade 1 to grade 8. You had to finish this to have something schooling, good schooling. You have to go to the lycée. Not too many people had the chances to go to make this this high school.
The entrance
program.
exam.
Yes, and I had, my mother wanted very badly to finish this this high school, and I finished in 1952, and no, 58. From 52, the grade 1 till 58, I went to this high school. And then I went to the university, and
David, I would still like to go back to the war, because I would like to know what happened to your father. So your father, when you moved from Boraia to Falticene, your father also moved with the family. He was still at home. And then what happened to him?
I told
During
you,
the war?
During the war, the end of the war. During the war, it was in a concentration camp.
Where? Where was he?
He was in Transnistria. It was a place in Bessarabia, which was close, which was the Germans was making their place to retire safely, and they make tranchées and took all the men from the city and Transnistria to work to make the tranchées. Just during the war, 42, 43. Then when the Germans considered that the war is finished, they start to retire, and then they left the people from Transnistria to go home. And my father came home, and then he bought a horse and a carriage, and he make business and to make a living.
Were there other male family members that were deported from your family along with your father?
My brother was still about 15 years old, and he started to help with the carriage, to know how to take care of a horse, of the carriage. He knew already when he was 16. And then my father, like I said, passed away. Then my brother was very young, but he could manage, and he took over. And he went to another city, brought different products for a store, and brought and sold in our city. He was 16 years old, and he knew how to do it.
How about your sisters? What did your sisters do during the war and right after?
No, nothing at the house.
They didn't help your mother during the war with the soap making?
Yeah, everybody, how much they could, they helped my mother. Yes.
And once, so now when you had to leave, your family had to leave. In 1944, when the Russians were coming, your family had to evacuate to Suceava, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what did your family do there for 6 months?
Oh, my father had a horse.
So he was doing that in Suceava?
Yes, he was doing there also, and having enough money for my mother to keep the family going.
How about you? Did you go to school during the war? You
I
were in
was
school?
going during the war, yes. The Jewish school was a very big house belonging to the Jewish people, to the community, and I couldn't go to a Christian school, they wouldn't let us there, and the community make a primary school in this building. And all the Jewish went to this building, which was considering a primary school. And then some neighbors around 60, 70 years old, they were, how it's called?
Set it on fire? They set it on fire?
Yes, they didn't like it that around there it's a Jewish school, and then they put fire to the building, and the school couldn't be there anymore.
It burned down? The building burned down?
No, they didn't burn down anything, but they burned the school almost after the Jewish community repaired it. But during this period, they couldn't be school there, and we have to move. And the war finished, and then I finished my grade 4. In 1952, I went to
university,
Yeah.
yeah. Where
No. In 1952, I went to the high school, to the lycée.
You were 20 years old in 1952 or 19
No,
years old?
1952 I talk about it. 1952 I
were-
had 10 years old.
In 1952 you were 19 years old.
I was born in 1933.
Yeah, so you were 10 years old in 1940,
42, 43.
Yeah,
Then I went to this
to the lycée.
to the lycée, and this was finished in 1952.
Okay.
In 1952, I went to the university, My mother wanted to go
Yeah.
very badly to the university.
And when you were in Suceava at the end of the war for 6 months, you didn't go to school when you lived in Suceava from the spring of 1940?
I don't remember
You don't
exactly
remember.
what I did. I don't remember.
Do you remember armies moving through the town? Did you have any contact with the German soldiers or with the Russian soldiers in 1944 when they were going through the city?
No, particularly my mother, like I said, was the police came and they saw them with a radio, which wasn't allowed to have a radio in this time.
Yeah.
But this lady had one, and some friends came once a week to listen to the radio to see the situation of Germany and Russia. And happened that this night they were beaten in Stalingrad, and the German had to come to retire because they considered that the Stalingrad is the winning of the war. If they lost Stalingrad, they considered the war finished, and they start to retire. And they came back, and like I said, meantime we went to Suceava, but already passed the most of them, but still was Germans in our city. Happened this story with this boy with the watch,
Yeah.
and this German beat this Russian boy, Russian soldier, a small Mongolian. I saw him now.
Tell me, when you moved to Suceava, you said you moved into an empty house. Did you
Yes.
find any furniture there and dishes? Or?
Yes.
So they left.
Furniture was a half a bench full of potatoes. Potatoes was thousands of kilos of potatoes was there.
So
And
if you finally had
was a
what to
very,
eat.
very rich house. Somebody very rich was living there. And my father, he saw there all the houses, and he find out that this house is good for him, and he took this house.
And when you moved back to Falticeni in the fall of 44, what did you find in your house?
Our house, the front house was almost very badly destroyed, and the back wasn't that bad, but still was possible to live. We live there, and then we have a meantime. My mother was in another city and learned how to make soap, and we have an empty room with all the products which she needed. She put together, and we make soap there, and she started to make a living with this soap. And then she says, I want a store where
And that's
we
why you
was
moved to
live.
that, yeah.
Wasn't good for a store, was a empty, a small street. And then she looked for the main commercial street, and she found a empty house, which we are living there from then till 1962.
When you left?
We live, and my mother had a store there, and she make a living. We have everything necessary to live.
What happened? You talked about the Shlishim that came after the war. Can you tell me about that? The Shlishim who came from Palestine. Can you tell me about that?
About
The,
what?
the envoys from Palestine that came to your city. The shlichim who came from Palestine.
Some city, some people.
So what happened to then let me put it differently. What happened to your sisters and your brother after the war? What did they do?
After the war, my sister, nothing.
But they didn't stay in Romania. How did they end up leaving Romania?
In 1945, start to come shlichim from Israel to Feltichain, and they opened different organizations. They have one organization here, one organization 7th Street, another place, and different was Hanor, was other one, I forgot the name, open, and the kids used to go there, and some shlichim spoke already, start to speak Romanian, and they make a living, and they make stories to have fun in this area at this time. And I did 43, 45, 46, 47. They continued to go to this organization, and they were convinced to go to Israel. And my sister was first. She was there about 16 years old.
That's Dorica?
No, Lisa.
Lisa.
She was convinced and to live for Israel. And my mother prepared her everything necessary, and she left for Israel. After this was 1960. 49, 50, yes, something like that. And 19, and all of us, we live there, the end of the war, 44, 45, 46. My mother had already a store there, and we make a living. And
so then, Lisa left for Israel?
Yes,
and then?
Lisa was to Israel. Then Dorica also started to be convinced about Israel. She married me there. She was about 19 or 20 years old. She married. She has a child. And a little girl, which she got sick and she passed away.
Her little girl, your sister's little girl?
Yes, and then she was going also to the organizations, and she was convinced also to go to Israel. And in 1958, 59, something like that, she went also to Israel. And my brother and my mother, we leave home, which make a good living. And meantime, I finished my university.
What did you study?
I studied engineering and textile.
And where? Where was it? In Nagyfalti?
In Iași. And there, in 1950, I don't know exactly the year 57, something like that, open a factory of textile in my city. Then I did give exam for the end of the university. I took a job. They gave me a job, a good job at the factory. Then in 1961, which was 2 or 3 years past the time when I was at the university, I decided to have a diploma. And I went and I gave exams for diploma, and I got a diploma. I have it if you want to show you. And then this, in 1962, my mother and I and my brother, meantime, had a girlfriend, and they decided to marry, and I don't know what happened. I married them, or after, I cannot tell you exactly. But in 1962, me and my mother, we made the pictures, and we went also to Israel.
But your brother left before you, right? I remember
Yes,
correctly.
he went a few months before us with his friend, which married, I don't not remember exactly, went to Israel also.
Before we go to Israel, I have a few questions. After the war, when you went to high school, to the lycée, did you experience any anti-Semitism from the non-Jewish classmates?
Was people telling you you're a Jew, something. They didn't tell you that you're a other religion. My religion was Jew. You're a Jew. This was sort of a bad consideration for the Jewish people, the Romanian, to tell you Jewish.
Yeah.
You know, and in such a way that to put you down.
Yeah. Were there any other Jews in your class?
In my class, yes. Yes. He, in Israel, he married, he finished economy, and she married a doctor, which she wanted to marry me. But I didn't want her because wasn't nice enough.
You were only 2 Jewish boys in the class, in the lycée? Or were there other Jews in your class?
And lycée was other one, yes, one more.
So 3 of you were Jews.
Yes.
Did your mother continue to practice religion? Did your mother continue to practice religion after the war? She was still religious and kosher after the war?
Yes, she kept very strict religion.
How easy was this to do in communist Romania?
To keep Jewish, you could keep. Nobody tell you not to keep.
You were allowed to go to synagogue?
Yes. Yes, was synagogues, was many synagogues in the city, was at least 5 in different areas of the city was synagogues. And my area was 2, one here, one there, and I used to go on both of them, once here, one there. I wasn't, I didn't like it 100%, but I used to go because the friends were going, but I didn't know really, I was too small to learn the language, which was then. And, but I learned, I knew a little bit when I started to learn for my
Bar mitzvah. Your bar mitzvah, right? When you started learning for your bar mitzvah, you learned
For
a bit
bar
of
mitzvah,
Israel. Yeah.
yes. I start to learn, and I knew some. This was
When you were at university, did you have to join the Communist Party or the Communist? When you were at university, you were in Communist Romania. Did
Yes.
you have to join the Communist Party or a Communist youth movement?
they tried to convince me, but I said no. I didn't want to go.
Did this have any repercussions?
Pardon me?
Did this have any repercussions that you said no? Was there any problems with you after that?
No, because the most of them, the kids, they were my friends.
But from the university,
Happened something that the president of the communist regime, I don't know for what reason, I was called here to speak with me. One of his sons was my friend. And he left me alone in the office, and I didn't touch anything. I say it's not allowed, I don't touch. And I am sure they have some thick areas which they could see what I am doing. But I was quiet, I didn't say anything. And one of his, I remember something, one of his substitutes with one or other one took me out and I area, wood area. I don't know really he wanted to kill me or not. But he asked me, you said somebody that you are with us? I say, yes, I told to my brother. And then they let me go. I am sure if I would say that I didn't say anything, he would kill me. Because this was their way of doing with Jewish people. They were sent them to the different camps, and but us, we did really much suffer, except that my mother, not by the Germans, by the locals, was sent to the trial, and they gave her 3 months of prison.
yeah, that's during the war,
Yes.
yeah. But now I am asking after the war, the communist regime, how easy was it to get out of Romania to leave for Israel? How easy was it to leave a communist country?
Not to find out at my room, we went to Suceava to our office, which they dealt with these things, and I went secretly, me and my mother, to Suceava to register for Israel, not at my city, because I didn't want my job to find out that I want to leave.
What would have happened if they had found out?
They could put me out of the work. But they're all the engineers, they were my friends, and they, even like that, I didn't want they to know.
So nobody knew that you were
Nobody
leaving?
knew.
And did you get a passport? Did you get an exit visa?
Yes.
How did you leave? By train? How did you leave Romania? By train?
No, by plane.
So you left
With
Romania?
actually Romania, we went by ship, a very huge, beautiful ship.
Were there other people,
And,
like many
by
people?
train, we went from my city to Bucharest, where we could take from Constanța, other city, we could take the ship.
Was that a ship for other immigrants, other Jews making Aliyah? Was it a ship for Jews to go to Israel?
No. Other Jewish maybe, yes, was full, the full ship. But from my city, I was only me and my mother.
Yeah, but it was all Jews on that ship.
Yes.
All Jews who were going to Israel.
Only Jewish.
So it was all organized by the
Yes, we went
Zionists.
to Greece, to Crete. We stayed there for one night, one day. Then we went to Israel.
What could you take with you? What did you take with you from Romania?
Romania wasn't allowed, only one big bag, huge, about 3 times bigger, right, and 2 times high, clothes. That's it we could take. And something in the hands, we could take. Nothing really remained, everything remained home. We take only some clothing and some sheets for the bed, which my mother taught to put in his case.
What happened to her store, to her business?
To the store, they closed.
But she sold it? She sold it? So you had some money from that?
Not sold it, leave it there, close. What she had to sell, she sell it, and that's it.
Just I wanted to go back because you didn't mention it in the interview. When your father came back from, remember when your father came back from Transnistria, he was shot, no? You said
He was shot, yes. He
so tell me
came
that
home,
story.
He recovered.
Where was he shot?
Pardon me?
Where was he shot? In Transnistria?
No,
but where did it happen? In Transnistria?
In Falticeni, yes.
In Falticeni.
Finally, he came home, was recovering, and he bought a carriage and a horse, and he made business, everything necessary, money for the family. He moved people from one place to other place, and then when was the order to move from Falticeni to Suceava, we moved. He took us only once allowed, and then other days was about 1 week time to go. Every day he moved somebody else with money. He went to this one, he hired him to take his family to Suceava. Other day to other family to give him money. And this was this period which he did for a living. Then we came back, and about October, something like that, was finished. The houses there was broken, was stolen. Then my mother found a house which she thought that would be a good store for her in the commercial street, and we moved there.
Your father was still alive? Your father was still alive then?
My father was still alive, but not for a long time. He went, he got a cold, something. He had a very high temperature, and no doctors was the city, just one old doctor, which he didn't know if he's living or not. And he's supposed to make some needles to bring the temperature down. He didn't know how, what, and he passed away, my father.
But when was your father shot? When? When was your father shot?
My father was shot when he came from the train to home in 1944, the end of the beginning of 1944. Still the war there, the Germans still was there. They were retiring, and he came home, and meantime, during the spring, he bought a horse. And
But when was he shot? When he came back from
when
the
he
war?
came back
and
from
why
the
was
train,
he shot?
because he couldn't walk, was tired after 2 years in working, and there was very tired, and the German was screaming, "Why you don't go faster?" He shot him.
I see.
And but he recovered, and he, after a few months, he went meantime to Suceava, and after we came home, and then she got a cold, and she couldn't recover, and she passed away.
Now we go back to Israel. So you moved to Israel with your mother in 1962. Where
Yes.
did you settle? Where did you?
We went to Lizra, which was in Kfar Kadima, was a village not far from Netanya. Was she had a land there and a house she made, and her husband had a horse and a carriage, and she made a living by moving people, working in Netanya and around there. I don't know exactly how he did it. I was a child. I was 6 years old.
No.
So-
We're talking about Israel. You were 30 or something, 29 in
Yes.
62. What did you do in Israel for work?
In Israel, I worked right away. I was living in getting a house in Nazareth, and not far from there, about 20 kilometers, was opening a factory, a textile factory, and I was through a cousin which knew the manager of this future factory, and he talked about me that I'm an engineer and this profession, and he arranged with the director to hire me, and I worked 2 years at this factory till 1944.
64, yeah.
Yes, when the economy went bad and the factory
Closed?
was supposed to close. But before they're supposed to close, I find a job in Tel Aviv to other textile factory, and I moved to textile, to this factory. And meantime, in a few weeks, was closed this factory in Beit Shan. And then in 1966, 67, the economy started to be very bad in Israel. And I and a friend, which he worked also on a textile factory, which closed also in other places of the city, of the country. He came to Tel Aviv. He met me, and he decided, he said, let's move to another country. And because the situation started to be bad in Israel, then we said, let's go to Canada or to Australia. And we went to the embassies, to Canada and to Australia. And it happened that Canada was a guy which was speaking French, which happened that French we knew, and we spoke French. And about 3-4 days, we received the approval for Canada. Then we left Australia, and we came to Canada. And since then, in 1967 happened, we came to 68, came to Canada, and then in autumn started to be very cold, and I have only shoes, very small shoes. I say I need something more
Warmer.
warm. And I was living in St. Lawrence, and I passed to there, and I saw in a store galoshes. I said, okay, this I guess I need. I'll go in. And I go in, and the owner, he saw on my face that I am not Christian, and said, you're Jewish. I say yes. And he started to speak a little bit Jewish with me, Hebrew Jewish. He didn't know anything, but he hear one word, hear the other words, some English, and he find out that I am not married. He says, come tomorrow and my daughter will marry you. Then I come, next day his daughter came, a beautiful girl, and we talked with her how much I could, 1 hour. I spoke with her, she realized that I am enough intelligent, smart to recommend her daughter, her friend, which was a Romanian girl. And that said she wanted to speak first with her if she accepts to see somebody from Romania or not. And she told me, come tomorrow. And tomorrow, Friday, I'm coming, and she gave me my wife's name. And I gave not her was just a friend of my wife, and gave me my friend of my wife, and I called her and told to her mother. She says, okay, he's Romanian, why not? Speak with him. She spoke, I invited out. We went to a restaurant. I didn't have too much money, just for one meal. I said, I tell you the truth, I don't have money, I have only one meal. He said, doesn't matter, we eat together. And I bought one meal, and we eat together. And we remained friends. We saw every week, every Friday, we see her, we took her out. And what happened, something interesting.
How long before you got married? How long did you go out with her?
After I met her, I went 3 months with her, and then we saw that we are good for each other, and we decided to go married. Then he told to her mother, and her mother did want me. And
why?
I will tell you. And he told to her family, to her brother, her brother-in-law, about 10 people decided to teach, to decided to convince me not to marry her. And they took me, they invited me in their house, and they talked with me about 10 times, I don't know, to succeed, to try to succeed to teach me not to marry her. But I said, no, I love her and I want to marry her. And really, I liked her, and she knew Romanian. I didn't know no English, not the other language. What I have to do, I have to, more or less, I said I like her. And I don't leave her. I want to marry her. And they was there talking and talking and talking. They weren't happy. They didn't like me. Why? Because I didn't have no money. I didn't have no job. And I wasn't good for her. And it really was true. But I told myself that I will manage. And I said, no, I will want to be friends with her. And after 3 months, we decided to marry. And they, like I said, they did want, and they made them a nice marriage. And we moved another corner of the city. And with some relatives, I got a job in a garage, which this guy was owner, a garage and gas. And he took me there, he showed me the things which I could help him. And I helped him at his business. And this was 1944, 45, something like that.
No, we're in the 1960s.
44, 45, I finished my primary school.
Wait. We were at the garage that you had a job in the garage of your wife's relative here in Montreal. That's where we were.
No, I want to tell you about, I told you about this period which...
yes, you did. Yeah,
I
so
did.
So we moved on to...
The story what?
So no, we were talking about the jobs you did here in Montreal. You were working in a garage in Montreal.
Yes.
When you got married. What year did you get married in, by the way?
I went married 1968.
68. What was your wife's name?
My wife's name was Tehama, and friends called her Anna.
Anna. Your
Yes.
wife? No, your wife's, not your mother's name. Your wife's name.
My wife's name was Heidi, but when her father went to the city hall to register her, and the guy from there said, Heidi, what name is this Heidi? She's Romanian. Her name should be Ileana. Ileana, it's a specifically pure Romanian name. And Zelig, what Zelig? What name is this? You're Moldovan. You're from Moldova. You're Moldovan. Then everything changed, and Heidi Moldovan, Ileana Moldovan. My name was Ileana Moldovan, but not in reality. But this was the reality in school and everywhere was Ileana Moldovan.
I see. I wanted to ask you, when you came to Canada, when you arrived here, what were your first impressions of this country? Do you remember?
The country,
Of Canada, of Montreal.
yes, was. I liked it. Everything was good. Nothing tell us anything.
What difficulties did you encounter when you first came? What difficulties?
Was Falticeni.
No, in Montreal, when you arrived in Montreal.
In Montreal.
No, but what difficulties did you find? What was difficult for you when you first arrived?
Difficult
In Montreal, yeah.
What I got. I got a job. I don't remember.
In Rigaud, no?
My mother. I don't remember exactly. Maybe I told you there. I forgot exactly.
You told Brandon that you had a job in Rigaud, in Rigaud.
What?
That you had a job first in Rigaud.
Yes. Yes. This. I did other language. I did find a job. From there, I had a lady which told me she has a lady in Montreal which has a friend which works at Rigaud. It's a small textile factory. Maybe take in touch with her. And really, I did have other things. I got this lady, and she arranged me a job in Rigaud. But it was a very, very difficult job. I had to work night, and I was slim, almost dead. And I came with a friend. He came to see me and say, David, you have to move from here. Here is not for you. And it's not healthy. And thanks to him, I left the job, and I came back to Montreal.
How did you learn English? Because you didn't speak English when you came.
English, and his job, where I have there, I work from the spring till October. I was working night till 10 o'clock. I wake up. I had a dictionary, Romanian, English, and I start to work words, to learn words. And I knew in about 6 months, 2,000 words. When I came here in October, happened that somebody asked me, I was in Dizengoff, I don't know, on one of the streets, asked me something further on, where it is, and I spoke perfectly with him English. He says, oh, you speak so good English. And it was few months, which I learned myself words, 2,000 words, I knew to speak English. And I speak like now. Now I don't speak better than that.
Where did you live in Montreal when you first came here?
Where I live, where I live. I live with, I came alone, no?
Well, you came with your friend.
I came
From
with
Israel,
my friend. I went to Rigaud.
Yeah.
I stayed there till October. I came back, and then I don't remember what I did. I went to look for the shoes, like I said.
Yeah, and
I met this lady recommended
yeah.
my wife, and my wife wanted me, and we were friends for 3 months.
And you got married at the beginning of 1968, I think.
Yes.
And where did you move with your wife? Where did you first set up house with your wife?
Then in 60.
No, but where
after
did you
married.
move? Yeah. Once you married, where did you live with Ilana, with your wife?
I live on Jari Street. I said, I don't want near people to ask me why you marry, what is, not to know me and not to tell me anything. I moved completely another place of the city on Jari Street. Do you know Jari?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it's completely the Jewish area.
Where did they live? Where did your wife live with her family before?
Before live in, I don't know, in Jewish area here in Montreal. I don't know exactly. I don't remember.
It's okay. And so you did you get married in a synagogue? Did you have a
Yes. We were married in a synagogue. No synagogue. And rabbi, yes, in the synagogue was rabbi's house, which used to make privately making money with a wedding eventually in his home. He had a huge home with a big room for synagogue, another room for weddings.
I see.
And
did you, when you got married, did you belong to a synagogue? Did you go to a synagogue with your wife?
not really, no.
No.
We did keep.
How religious was your wife's family? How religious was your wife's family?
What?
How religious was your wife's family?
Did what?
How Jewish was your wife's family? What did they observe, your wife's parents? Were they religious? Did they observe holidays? Were they kosher?
My wife's family was like us, not extremely Jewish. Knew that the Jewish, they kept Friday night, they kept dishes like
For Pesach?
yes, normal Jewish,
Okay.
not religious, but keeping the religion.
Okay. How many kids did you have with your wife? How many children?
We have what you mean?
How many children do you have?
How many?
Children.
Myself?
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Pamela and Cynthia, 2 daughters, which Pamela has 2 boys, the gentleman, and a bigger one with 2 years, which is still in university. And Lisa has a girl, 19 years old, used to be last year, maybe it's 20 now. She's a student in Kensington, and a boy, which he's not the nicest boy at the town.
We don't want to go into that.
And,
we don't want to go into that. So she has a girl and a boy.
Okay.
And she's called Cynthia, right? Your other daughter. Not Lisa, Cynthia.
Cynthia has a daughter.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a Kensington.
What I wanted to ask you, when you had your daughters, did you give them a Jewish education to your daughters?
Yes, Jewish, normal Jewish, like I keep. I know that I am Jewish.
Did they go to a Jewish school, your
Jewish
daughters?
school, sure, and but not religious, really. Just the profession.
Did they have a bat mitzvah? Did your daughters have a bat mitzvah?
Yeah, sure. The boy had
No,
bat
your
mitzvah.
daughters,
The
Pamela.
daughter, bat mitzvah, yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, they have these things. normally not exaggerated things.
But did they go, when they went to school, elementary school and high school, did they go to one of the Jewish schools in Montreal?
Sure.
Or, yes?
Sure.
Which
Jewish
one?
school.
Which one did they go to?
Not Jewish. What you mean? The university wasn't Jewish.
No, but did they do like just Hebrew school after school, or did they go to Solomon Schechter or Akiva, one of the Jewish schools? No.
They did. I didn't send them to religious places. They knew just from us how much Jewish they should be.
I see.
Not exaggerated to now that they are Jewish. This which I wanted they to know that they are Jewish.
And with your daughters and with your wife, you celebrated Rosh Hashanah, Pesach,
Yes.
for all that
What
you did.
little things which normal, not very Jewish people keep, we used to keep. Just normal things which are being Jewish, you have to show to the kids the religion.
But you didn't go to synagogue every Saturday when you were in
Not
Montreal.
really
no.
every Saturday. We used to go just for fun, to talk to the kids, but not used to pray, just to talk.
But
with
not
the
that,
kids.
did you go every Friday or every Shabbat to the synagogue with the children, or just on high holidays?
Saturday, not very often, Friday night, almost nothing, but Saturday, yes.
Every Saturday you
Yes,
went?
yes.
Okay. Which synagogue did you go to?
To see what synagogue, what is the name?
Yeah, where was
Oh.
it? Do you know where it was?
I don't know.
You don't know. So what happened with your work life? You worked in this garage. Your wife had a relative, and you worked in his garage and gas station, right? You worked
Yes.
in the garage here in Montreal.
In Montreal,
What did you work? What was your work?
I work at the garage.
And then?
Then used to come taxi drivers to buy gas, and used to come to pay, and used to pay me, and they used to like to talk with me, and to hear about my life and this and that. And was specifically one driver, an older person, which liked to speak with me than to work in taxi. And he came often to speak with me, and I asked him how his life, how much money he makes, and he used to make more money than I used to pay me. And I asked my boss, I would like to increase my salary, and he says, I cannot tell you now, but I will tell you. And he finally, a few days, he says, no, I cannot give you the money which you want. Then and one time, one day I was free, and I gave exam for a taxi driver, and I passed in one shot. The gave me the permit for a taxi, and one Sunday I worked when I was free, and I make money that nobody that the city make money, how much money I make, because I work very hard. I work 70 hours per week when I start to work. Nobody works 70 hours. I work 70 hours for 30 years, and nobody makes so much money like I make. And I had enough money for my wife, which she likes to buy clothes and dish and jewelry, and she had house, lots of things, lots of things. And then in 19.
So that's what you did. That's what was your working life. You drove A taxi, right?
Then
That's what you didn't want.
I like I said, I work and I went. I was already cold, and I needed shoes, and I went.
Yeah, we
this is
told-
what I told you. when
Yeah, we talked
I met
about
the
that.
wife.
What did I want to ask you? Did your wife work?
My wife, no, didn't.
No,
work.
she didn't work. Okay.
No, she worked here and there, had private kids. She was a piano teacher, and she used to teach piano. And at night, I was going with her in different houses. There was kids, 12, 13, 14 years old, teaching piano.
What was it I wanted to ask? Brendan, are there any stories we didn't talk about that you think we should still mention?
Not that I can think of.
So everything was covered that we wanted to cover.
Yeah, unless he has something.
Yes, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you would like to still tell us? Any topic we didn't cover?
This which during the war we had yellow
Yeah,
pigs,
we talked about
and
that.
my
yeah.
mother was on 3 Mounts and
We mentioned that too, yes.
in jail, and after you had to stay out of the Christians, because when they have a chance to could beat you or say something to you. But
So you stayed out of their way.
yes, we had to stay out of the possibility to meet Christian people.
I actually do have one more question. I remember now, in Montreal, as an adult, who were yours and your wife's friends? Who were you friendly with here in Montreal? Who were your closest people?
Was the friend which I came to. He passed away about 5-6 weeks ago. He passed away. He was he was an engineer. We had friends and
Long-time
in
friends,
school,
yeah.
and he came from other city. When I told you
Yes.
that
yes.
we talked to move from Israel to come here.
So that was a close friend. Who else? Who else did you make friends with in Montreal?
No other people.
But you had to have people around you that you and your wife were friendly with, acquaintances.
Maybe was something, but I cannot remember exactly who and how and where.
Did you have any relationship with the Canadian Jews, or were you more, or you had more relationship with immigrants?
More with immigrants than with.
And Jews or non-Jews?
I did keep specifically make me a difference if it's Jew or not Jew. If it's a person, if it's a friendly person to be with, I kept. I didn't care if it's not Jew. I like Christian the same, and if it's a person, I like them.
Okay. Brendan, do you want to sit there and say something on camera? Make sure you don't sit on his glasses.
I just wanted to say that I think it's important that David did this interview so that one day in 20 years from now, whatever, I could take my kids and show them what David went through when he was younger and his siblings. And doing other research on David's town, I got a full, bigger picture of what it looked like to live in that area during that time. And specifically with the rise of anti-Semitism now, I think it's even more important for people to do interviews like this so that my generation can show future generations what our ancestors went through. And I think it's very important.
I agree with you. You have to introduce yourself, though.
And I'm Brandon, his second grandchild.
Okay. Anything else to
No,
add?
That's good.
Anything else to add? I think we're good.
Everything is okay. I am here. You see me. I am close to 92 years old. You see, I look good. My mind is perfectly normally. I don't talk nonsense. I'm going. Usually, my daughters bring me food enough. When it's missing something, I take my carriage and I am going to the mall. I am walking and I am buying things from the mall to the dollar store, to the bank. Anything which I need, I'm going to the mall myself. Nobody's carrying me, nobody's keeping me. I am doing my job myself. And I am properly, normally, to make a normal life.
Well, kudos to you, and thank you very much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.